Hello everyone. In this video, I'll brief you guys about the installation of Node.js, the code editor, that is VS Code. Then we'll deal with an extension of the same. Then we'll discuss about the possible errors that you might come across during your installation process. And finally, we'll set up our React Native project. So let's get started. First, I want you guys to open up a new tab and look up for Node.js. Click on the first link that pops up, that is the .org extension. Click on that and you'll have this page on which you can simply click on this button and start the installation process. Like you can see, it is already finished and you can follow this guide. It will give you all the instructions needed and you can simply click on the next buttons and finish the setup. Later, since I already have this on my system, I'll skip this part and leave it to you guys. Next, we also need a Visual Studio Code, that is our code editor. So let's search that and click on the first link that pops up. Make sure that you're installing it from the official site. Click on this and you can download this for Windows. In case you have any other operating system like Mac or Linux, you can follow the relevant guide that will be given in this website. And let's wait for this to finish downloading. All right, guys, it's done. So you can simply click on that thing and accept all the agreements. Click on the next buttons, and in case you want to create a desktop icon, you can check this box and just follow this guide and click on install. Since I already have it on my system, I'm not going to install it again, but I request you guys to do it. And once you're done installing it, you can exit this. And now I want you guys to open the Visual Studio that you just installed. This is how it's going to look like, your basic code editor. Here you have all the options like file, you can open up a new file, you can open a folder that is already there in your file explorer. Then you can save it, and there are other options, you can go through them. All the other basic options that you guys already know about. And yes, here you have the terminal option where you can click and create a new terminal. Don't worry, we'll look into that later. And here in the left bar, we have all these options like Explorer. Here, the folder that is open will be shown, and here you have all the search engine and the source control mechanisms and all these options can be ignored for now because you won't be needing them. The thing that we need to worry about is extensions. Remember, in the beginning of this video I said that these are the things that we'll cover in this video. We just installed these two, so let's strike that off. Now we'll install an extension. Now extension is usually used to make our job easier. Okay, so this is like second, third, fourth, and fifth. This is like the fifth icon that is showing up on the left side of your Visual Studio, and you can look up for something called ES7 and this. Click on the third link. You can look at the name that is given here and download the exact same extension. And this is something that will make our job easier. As we write programs, we will not be dealing with basics. Initially, it's going to be, starting from scratch and coding everything, but later on we'll be building complex apps. So that is the reason we need such snippets. Now, snippets are something that will make our job easier. Just by writing a few letters, it can generate a set of code for us, a basic level code, which is in technical terms known as boilerplate. So this will be generated just by giving those 4 or 5 letters. Don't worry, guys, we'll go through this in the further classes. So I already had that extension, so I uninstalled it, and now you can install it again. And here you'll have this option to enable it, so make sure you do after installing. So now your extension is ready. That covers our third step. All right, this is done. Now let's discuss about the possible errors that might you know come across, that you might come across while installing? Okay, so when you're installing this, there are times when some of you might come across this error, this particular error. So if you look closely and read the lines that are being displayed in red color, you can see that it's asking us to make sure that the path is correctly set. Like the first sentence says, it is not recognized. The term npx is not recognized. Now to fix this error, what I want you guys to do is open your file explorer. It is there on your system, open it. And now go to your OS, that is the C drive. We have the PC, and in the PC we have the C drive. I want you guys to open it. And now look for something called program files. Just double click on that. And now I want you guys to look for Node.js. Remember, that was the first thing that we installed in the beginning of this video. I want you guys to open the Node.js folder, and here we have this bar, right? It's showing us the directory. Like first we clicked on PC and then we opened the C drive, and now we are into the programs folder, and particularly inside Node.js. I want you to double click on this bar. That will, select all of that path, and now copy it. Simply right click and copy. Now you have your search bar, right, on your system. Click on that and look up edit the system environment variables. It's something that's inside your control panel. If you simply look up for it in your search bar, this will show up. So now if you click on that, all of this, I know it seems complicated, but simply follow the steps that I am doing here. Here we have this button called environment variables. Click on that. This will pop up. So now I want you guys to click on the path, ignore everything else, and simply double click on this particular thing. Now you might not have the same directory, but look for this thing, this path over here. And once you find it, double click on that. Now you might have a list of things, or this might be empty. Either way, you can simply, let me just delete it. It's already there here. I'll create it again. So remember, we copied this from here. We copied this, right? What we should do now is open up this environment variable and click on the new button. Since we want to make a new path and properly configure it, I'm going to paste it here. Okay. Now all you need to do is click on OK, OK, and OK. Make sure you do all of this, because all these little things, make a difference. So now I want you to go back to VS Code, and you can close all of this. It's not needed now. And remember, I said that you can find your terminal over here. Just create a new terminal, and let's go back to, I'll just show you guys on the actual terminal. And you can make sure that the node is properly installed or not through this command. You can type node space -v and click on enter. It usually gives you the version of node that is installed on your system. If this is showing up as the output, you can tell that the node is properly installed, and now you can move on to the next steps. So this was one of the errors that you might come across, all right, in case the path is not properly established. And in case you are coming across this particular error, that means the permissions are not granted properly. There is unauthorized access, and it cannot be loaded because running scripts is disabled on the system. So in this case, what you need to do is, so the solution to this problem would be opening your terminal and running this particular command. Now you don't have to memorize anything. This is available on the internet. If you look up the particular error, it will give you this command. Or else you can simply, keep this in mind whenever they ask us about permission issues, or it cannot load all the scripts. This is the command that you need to run, and simply click on enter. Now it's not going to show you anything because this is something that happens internally. So now all you can do is close the terminal and the issue will be resolved internally. And that is it about the possible errors discussion. It's done. Now let's get into the actual part, that is creating a React Native project. Now, I want you guys to close all of this, it's not needed now. And now you can open up a new tab. And remember, in the previous classes, we discussed about Expose CLI. Now, that is something which makes our job easier, and it's an alternative to Android Studio. Since Android Studio is uh, a heavy software and it might cause you efficiency issues, that is the reason we are using this alternative that is also a framework which is called Expose CLI. Now, this can be used through Expo Router. This is like the base to everything. So once you look up Expo Router in your search engine, the first link is what you need to click on. And here on the bottom left side, you'll have the installation part. First, you have the intro. You can, go through this documentation. It's very important, guys. And then you can click on the installation. And this documentation has made our job so easy that we don't have to memorize anything or make sure that we remember all of this. There is no need for that. You can simply copy things from here and make changes accordingly. So now, according to this guide, the first step is creating a React Native project. So I want you guys to open up a terminal again. And here the first step said that you need to run this command. So I'm going to paste this in the terminal. And you cannot click on enter yet. That is because if you run this particular command, the project that will be generated will be in TypeScript. Now, in the previous classes, I mentioned that JavaScript is what we'll be using for React Native. Now, TypeScript is an advancement of that, which we won't be covering in this particular workshop. So that is the reason we commonly use JavaScript. And to generate a project in JavaScript, we will be writing this additional thing along with the command. You just need to write hyphen hyphen template space blank. All right. Just simply copy this and click on enter. It usually takes a little time. So it's done. And now it's asking me to name my project. It can be anything. I'll keep this as, okay, first project, for example. First project. Great. Now it will take some time again. Let's wait. All right. It took some time, but it's finally done. Now your project is ready, as the terminal tells us. Now, see, you don't have to get overwhelmed by looking at the content of this terminal, okay? The thing that you need to do is, instructed by the terminal itself. So here you have to run your project, navigate to the directory and run one of the following npm commands. Simple as that. First, it's asking us to do this cd, and first project is our project's name, right? So cd is short for change directory. So you will type your project's name, that is first project. Now you can see the change. Inside of my folder, I'm now navigating into my particular projects folder, that is first project. Now you cannot simply write your code over here, right? That is the reason we installed the code editor. Now I want you guys to go back to the guide. We just finished the first step, that is creating our project. Now you cannot just run this command yet because that will start your project and we haven't done the remaining steps yet. That is the reason we'll save the second step for last. And now the next is installing the dependencies. Now dependencies are like add-ons to your project. It will help you make your developing part much easier and convenient. And not only that, you can see here there is Expo Router that will help you, that will help us to navigate and establish all the routing. Then we have safe area context. Now, for example, you have your mobile phones and there is a notch over there, and then we have a little gap on the like bottom part of your screen. So to avoid the content being hidden by those two parts, we ensure that safe area is something that we use so that the output is in the between, right where we can see the output. So all of this is pretty confusing. So for now, all you can do is copy this particular command. Click on this button, come back to the terminal and paste it over here. And we wait. Okay, this is done. And now the next step is set up the entry point. Now to follow this, I'll split the screen for convenience. You can minimize this. Okay, first, there's a shortcut to redirect your code editor. What you can do is, okay, there's a glitch, but you can ignore that. You can simply type code space dot, and after clicking on the enter button, it will redirect you to your code editor. And as you can see, this is the first project that we named our project as. Now we are inside that particular folder. So now you can close all of this. We don't need it anymore. And now let's split the screen. So in this step, they're asking us to open the package.json file. So let's do that. This is the package.json file. And after you open it, it's asking us to replace this particular thing. Find where main is. Here it is, right? And here they are telling that it's index.js, but instead they want us to replace it with expo router slash entry. So let's do that because that is what the guide says. And you can save it by clicking on Control and S together. And now the next step is modifying the project configuration. Now it's asking us to open the app.json file. You can simply find it here, app.json, click on that. These are like toggle buttons that will help you open and close the file while apart, and then the terminal itself. All these little things, once you start spending more time on this editor, you'll get the hang of it. So now we copied this, right? There is, see, whenever you are installing a project, it's mandatory for it to properly be configured in your system. That is the reason we copy this, and after the name the slug is given, you can click enter. That will get us to the next line and paste it over here. Make sure you add a comma after this, that is after your scheme name. If you don't do that, you'll get an error. So just make sure there's a comma. And then you can replace your app scheme. Since that was a default value, you can just write your project name itself. That is first project in this case. I saved that as well. And now, in the previous classes, I mentioned this that using this particular code, you can make three different things. That is your website, a mobile application, and an application that runs on iOS devices. So you can make like website, Android, and iOS. A relevant code can be written on React Native. And this is why this is optional, but in case you're making a website, you can definitely run this command. So in this case, I will be doing it. So I maximize this editor and I'm opening the terminal. I'm pasting it over here. Now, all of these are dependencies that will be shown in a particular file that I will cover in a few minutes. And now we wait for it to install. It's done. Great. Now that is it. You don't have to follow the rest of the guide because we don't need it yet. And in case you are a high-end developer, you might need it further. But for the basic setup, this is what we need. I'll give a quick run through at the end of the video. So that is done. Now let's come back to the code editor and open the file explorer. Great. This is how our file looks like, right? Let's open up the terminal and type. You don't have to type honestly. Remember the second command that we skipped? We saved it for the last, right? You can copy it from here and paste it over here and click on enter. It will take a little time, so be patient. Okay, so it's here. Once you run this command, all of this will be generated. First, you have this QR code that you can scan through an app. You can open your Play Store in your mobile phone and look up for Expo Space Go. You can install that application, and through that scanner, you can scan this QR and it will show the application on your personal mobile. And in case you are making a website, you can scroll down and here you can see web is waiting on localhost. This link is given, right? Just copy this, Control C, and open your new tab and paste it over here. Click on enter. All right. It takes a little time, but it's finally here. Now it's asking us to touch this particular thing. If you click on this is your first page. All right. This is the output. And here, when you come back to the code editor, you can close the terminal now. And if you notice the file structure over here, let's discuss that now. First, you have .expo. Now, this is something that we don't usually deal with because it's not needed. All we'll talk about and use are these particular folders, these and the package.json folders. So you don't really need to know about what's inside. It's simply behind the scene and the backend data that is, stored. And here we have app folder inside which we have the index.js file. So remember, this was our output. Hello world. This is the first page of your app. This is the code behind. Now, if you simply edit this and make changes, it will be shown over here. As simple as that. So now you know that this is how it usually works. Here is the output and this is the code behind it. And let's discuss further about the file structure. Here you have assets. Now, these will usually consist of the necessary images or videos you might use in your website or mobile applications. Now, you can you obviously use a lot of applications, and there are images and icons, and there are so many of it. So, this is the folder that usually has all of that. Like you can see all these icons and all. Since this is like the default structure, this is what it consists of. And then we have node modules. Now, this again is behind the scenes, and you don't usually mess with this. It just has to be there. Then we have .getignore file. Now, we will cover this topic in the later classes. There is something called GitHub and Git. We will make sure that you know what it is. But for now, you can ignore this file as well. Then we have app.js. Just simply right click on it and delete. Since we are using this file as our main, you don't need app.js. And then we have app.json. Again, this is like the behind the scenes of our project. You don't need to know what this is. It's like an about section for your project. Like you have all your details like your name, your father's name, your date of birth. This is all of that data, but for your project. Then we have index.js. Again, you don't need it, so you can simply right click and delete. Then you have your package log and package.json files. This is again like the about section of your project. It has all the dependencies, the list of all the dependencies that you installed. Remember, we copied and pasted those commands from the guide. This is where it shows up. All right, and that is it about the file structure, guys. We have successfully installed Expo Router, and we even discussed about the file structure. So that is it for this video. In case you have any doubts and you're facing any issues on your personal PCs or laptops, feel free to reach out to us. We are willing to help, and let's make this workshop worth a while.